Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Repeateron, and today we're going to be doing another tier list. So we're going to be doing another Fallout 3 tier list today. This is going to be on the rifles in Fallout 3. This is just the small gun rifles, not actually the laser gun rifles. We'll talk about that in a different video because otherwise this section would be really big. Same with we're going to be talking about shotguns later too because I didn't feel like they fit into here quite well. So we'll do that, and then we'll also do unarmed melee, explosives, and big guns. I think those are the only ones we have to cover, and then maybe we'll do some other tier lists too for Fallout 3, like characters or something like that. Let's talk about each of these and where I would place them in terms of how good they are. Now, in Fallout 3, you can use pretty much whatever you want. It's an open world sandbox game that has an adjustable difficulty, so you can always set it down to very easy, and you can use really whatever you want. Even on very hard, you can really use whatever you want in Fallout 3. If you throw on some like power armor and take a ton of drugs. We will be doing a drug tier list too. I keep forgetting about that, but we will do one of those soon. Our very first gun is the very first gun that you actually get to start out with, which is the BB gun. This does incredibly low damage, has a low rate of fire, actually has pretty decent accuracy, and holds the most bullets out of any of these rifles at 100. BBs are actually pretty hard to find, even though you could probably spawn in enough BBs to actually beat Fallout 3 with just the BB gun. I think it would be incredibly hard to do it legitly because just the sheer amount of BBs that you're going to need to actually beat the game. So for that, it's not really all that great. There's also a very limited amount of BB guns, at least laying around the map. I believe that certain vendors can actually have them. So again, if you wanted to do like a challenge run only using the BB gun, you'd probably need to wait for people to restock their supplies so that you could actually buy BBs and BB guns to fix your BB gun with. Not really much to say about the BB gun. It's D tier. Everybody knows that. It's not worth using against anything if you want to kill it quickly. This is pretty much you're messing around with it. You're memeing around with it, or you're doing like a challenge run. That's really the purpose of the BB gun, and to introduce you to like all the shooting mechanics early on into the game, which it is pretty helpful for that. And you could always take it around if you just want to shoot rad roaches or maybe even mole rats or something like that. It does have a little bit of a purpose, but not much of one. Up next we have the assault rifle, and the assault rifle is pretty mediocre to lower mediocre, I would say. I was kind of disappointed with the assault rifles in this game because I remember some of them being better. At least I thought I remembered them being better when I had first played Fallout 3, and then when I recently played through it again, not so much. The base assault rifle has low damage, it has a decent rate of fire, and it is fairly accurate for an assault rifle. It also doesn't take tons of action points, and it holds 24 rounds. It takes the 5.56, which you're going to find plenty of. So it does have some things going for it, but just it's so bad against anything that has armor. Anything that has like defense or passive armor, especially if it's like a rad roach or something, or not a rad roach, rad scorpion, it'll probably just like tank through the assault rifle like nothing is happening to it. And for that, it's pretty bad, I would say. I'd probably put the assault rifle just down into C tier. It's better than the BB gun, and I used it a bit when I was playing, but even when it's fully upgraded, it's still kind of meh. Up next, we have the unique variations of them. These come from the pit. First up, we have the Infiltrator, which is actually all around worse than the regular assault rifle. It does less damage per shot, has about the same rate of fire, the same action point cost, the same clip size, the same weight, all that, but this one does have a suppressor and a scope on it. So the scope does make it so it's a little bit more accurate, but with the spread in this game, the assault rifle is never going to be that much of an accurate weapon, and the suppressor doesn't really help with sneaking. So this is kind of just worse than the regular assault rifle, but looks a bit different. It's also going into C tier. Then we have the other unique version, or the unique version of the Infiltrator, which is the Perforator. And this you get from collecting 90 steel ingots in the pit. So it's one of the last rewards that you get from the pit. And this does more damage than the regular assault rifle, has a slower rate of fire than the regular assault rifle, has a little bit higher action point cost, is more accurate than the other assault rifles, and still holds 24 rounds. It still has a scope and it still has a suppressor on it. This one is better than the regular assault rifle is, I would say, but it's still pretty lacking when it actually comes to killing anything large in the game, anything that's really a danger. Whenever I took this weapon around, I was pretty much just using it to kill like small wildlife and stuff, you know, shooting rad roaches or mole rats, maybe regular scorpions, maybe some raiders that just didn't have any good gear or anything like that. That was really the only reason why I was using this. I remember this one being better, or at least I thought it was better when I was first playing Fallout 3, I think. But since then, it's pretty average. I'd put it into the high end of C tier. Then we have the Chinese assault rifle, which is potentially better than the regular assault rifle. It doesn't do more damage. It does do more damage per second, although it's just as inaccurate. It's pretty much just an upgrade from the regular assault rifle, which I would say the regular Chinese assault rifle probably goes on par with the Perforator. They're both kind of lacking, and I didn't use them all that much outside of like the beginning of the game and when I was just running around and just shooting regular stuff. I may change this list by the end too, just judging by how many things are in C tier. But let's move on to the unique Chinese assault rifle, which is the Zoolong assault rifle. This one does slightly more damage, and it has slightly higher DPS than the regular Chinese assault rifle. Other than that, its stats are almost exactly the same, but it does hold more bullets in its magazine. It holds 36 rounds rather than 24. That is a noticeable improvement, and this actually isn't a bad gun to be running around with and shooting stuff. This was probably the best assault rifle experience that I had playing Fallout 3, but even so, it was still kind of mediocre. Maybe a little bit above that. So I think I'm going to put this one into B tier, but on the very low end of B tier. It's okay. There is kind of a problem that I do have with it outside of just the weapon itself, and that is the way in which you need to get it. The way in which you need to get the Zoolong assault rifles, that you have to go to the Museum of History, you have to find 3 terminals, then you have to input the correct inputs into all 3 of them so that you can get a code to the safe in there, so that you can get a holotape, which then triggers the event of the Zoolong actually showing up, in which case you have to go pretty much back to Vault 101 and then travel to the west. Travel to the west to a location there, which then you'll find a dead body with the assault rifle, and you would never know that unless you looked up a guide for it. And the only reason I remember it is because it's so convoluted like that. Usually in the Fallout games, you can find just unique weapons laying around. That's not uncommon, just from basic exploring. This one, though, you have to explore, do a puzzle, correctly do that puzzle so that you can unlock another puzzle, and then realize that it's telling you to go to a location, which it does in the holotape, but not everybody reads through those. They might just think that that's the cool secret and that's it. And then go to the other location, find the body, and then get the rifle. It's just so many steps that are unnecessary to find a unique weapon. That's not even that much better than the base Chinese assault rifle. So I just figured it's so weird. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move to the hunting rifles. And the basic hunting rifle is actually not bad. It does have a low rate of fire. It does do decent damage per shot. And it is fairly accurate, as well as it does take one of the most common bullets in the game, being the 32 caliber bullet, which is still really weird to me that a rifle is 32 caliber. But whatever. Aside from that, it's not a terrible weapon, and it works pretty well against most small enemies. It can work well against raiders and stuff like that. It's still not good against large enemies, but with its accuracy, you can shoot it from a pretty reasonable distance and hit your target. So I think I'd put this one also on the low end of B tier. I think I'd actually put it a little bit below the Zoolong assault rifle here, but that's just me. Then we have the unique version, which is Old Painless. This has a faster rate of fire, more damage per shot than the regular hunting rifle, and it is a weapon that has pretty much perfect accuracy. So it's pretty good in all aspects, where it takes a cheap bullet, an easy to find bullet, it's fairly accurate, it's very easy to find hunting rifles to repair this with, so no real downsides there, and it works pretty well against most small and medium enemies. I'd still put it into B tier, because you still don't want to have it when you're trying to like fight off most large enemies. It's not really the greatest for that, but again, against like raiders, against maybe Yao Guai, things like that, you can take them down pretty easily with Old Painless. The way you get this is you go up to the Republic of Dave, and you have to break into his safe, whether that means stealing his key and then opening it, or killing him, taking his key and then opening it. That's how you get it. Next, we have the lever action rifle. This is from Point Lookout, and the lever action rifle is pretty nice. It actually has about the same rate of fire as the hunting rifle, but it has higher damage per shot. It has a really high crit multiplier of 5, having the highest, so you can actually get, I think, 90% crit chance with the lever action rifle, and it is very accurate. It also takes the 10mm cartridge, which is even more common than the 32 cartridge, at least in my experience. Very strong rifle. It's great to be using. It has good enough damage to fight off pretty much anything in the game, and it's very cost efficient. So long as you can find lever action rifles, it's pretty good. I'd put the lever action rifle up into A tier. Next we have the Backwater Rifle, which is the unique version of this. This does just more damage. Other than that, its stats are pretty much exactly the same as the regular lever action rifle. So I'd also put this one up into A tier. You find this from doing one of the missions where you have to, I think it's called the Velvet Curtain, where you have to figure out what happened to a Chinese spy, and then this is your reward at the end. It's on a shelf in the final room that you need to go to, or just outside the final room that you need to go to for completing this side mission. And it's definitely worth it. The lever action rifle, so long as you can find them, or you plan on using like the alien epoxy, or if you just have a mod to get more regular lever action rifles in the wasteland, won't be too bad. You could always go back to Point Lookout 2 and buy them. And this one's just an all-around pretty solid weapon. If it had a faster rate of fire, then it would definitely be like S tier. But since it has such a slow rate of fire, A tier seems pretty fair for it. Then our last lever action rifle is Lincoln's Repeater. You find this at the Museum of History. This is just housed in the back, and you repair this one with hunting rifles. So it's actually easier to repair than the regular lever action guns, or the lever action guns from Point Lookout. This does more damage than either of the lever action guns we've talked about, or I guess all three of them, because the BB gun's there too. This does high damage. It still has a low rate of fire. It has very high accuracy. Unfortunately, this does not have a 5x multiplier to the crits, though. This only has a 2x multiplier, which is still good. It's still better than most of the rifles. But when this shoots 44 caliber rounds, it's kind of a pain to get ammunition for it. It is easy to repair, and it does hit pretty hard. It's a really great early game weapon. But I still don't think I'd put Lincoln's Repeater in S tier. I think I'd put it up into A tier, alongside the Backwater Rifle. I think they're both pretty comparable, and they're both quite good, but nothing crazy, nothing like I would consider S tier. Next up, we got the Railway Rifle. This is a rifle that you can make so long as you have the schematic for it, and this thing does pretty high damage. It has a decent rate of fire compared to most of the other weapons in this game. It has higher than average crit chance at 3x crit chance, so that's always good. It holds 8 shots. However, there is one problem with the railgun, or the Railway Rifle in particular, that I've seen, and that is it seems to be very buggy and can cause the game to crash more often than normal. I don't know why that is, but for whatever reason, when I was playing through this and when I was using this weapon, my game seemed to lag more often and seemed to have more issues. The projectile also moves slower than most other projectiles in the game, I think, or at least it might be an optical illusion to where it seems like it's traveling slower than other bullets. But yeah, it's kind of odd. So let's just consider this as it didn't lag your game, it didn't cause your game to crash, and you got used to the projectile speed. It's a pretty good gun overall, I'd say, because it's pretty easy to find railroad spikes. You can find them in like bundles of 20 just laying around in the waste, pretty much in any of the subway tunnels, and you can always make more of these, which the parts are pretty easy to find. I would put the Railway Rifle also up into A tier. I don't think it's as good as the lever action guns, but it's still pretty decent. And then we have the Sniper Rifle family. So first up is the regular Sniper Rifle. This one does pretty good damage per shot. You do have the scope on it. It's incredibly accurate, tied with the highest accuracy like some of these. And it has a 5x crit multiplier on it, which is always good. There's really not much of a downside to the regular sniper rifle, except for that it's kind of difficult to find other sniper rifles, and it can be a little bit difficult to find 308 ammunition. So if you can't find 308 ammunition, it's not that great, and if you can't find other sniper rifles to keep it fixed, it will break really fast. So in that regard, the base sniper rifle is still pretty good. I would put it up into A tier with these other weapons. We have two unique variants of the sniper rifle. The first one is the reservist rifle, which does the same damage but has a faster rate of fire than the regular sniper rifle. Still has the 5x crit chance, still has the high accuracy, but this one only holds 3 bullets. So you can shoot out those 3 bullets faster, but you're going to need to reload it more often. And for that, it's honestly kind of a pain. I didn't really like this gun all that much because it's like, I would just rather have the regular sniper rifle with 5 shots. It shoots fast enough, and this one is... it's probably on the same level as the regular sniper rifle, I'd say, which is just kind of okay. And then our last sniper rifle is the Victory Rifle. And this one is a little bit different. This one has a unique effect once you hit crits, and this one has a lower crit chance than the other sniper rifles. Instead of a 5x chance, this has a 3x chance, but anytime that you hit a crit, it will knock over an enemy, which sounds pretty cool, but it's actually more of a hindrance to you in Fallout 3 because the way that crits work, at least for this gun, is that the knockdown effect seems to take over the damage. So even if you hit somebody with like a sneak crit from a really decent distance in the head or something, there's a good chance that it will do almost no damage because the knockdown effect takes place first. So it'll just knock them down and then they just sustain the knockdown damage, which is usually either nothing or everything. If you knock somebody off of a hill or a cliff or something, even if it's just a short distance, you can also do this with Paralyzing Palm, and they land on their head, it'll usually kill them, which is kind of funny when you just like one-shot a super mutant overlord or something. But it's so unreliable and you use up so much ammunition just knocking over stuff that just isn't dying that this one's just such a pain to use if you're building a crit build. If you're not building a crit build, then it's just kind of the same as a regular sniper rifle, in which case you're not really getting any benefits from. So either way, it's just kind of all around worse than a regular sniper rifle. I would put this one into B tier. It's okay for just the damage, but other than that, it's pretty lackluster. I should also talk about the other variant of the, I guess both the assault rifle and the sniper rifle that you could potentially get from Anchorage. If you do the bug or the exploit that it's known as from Anchorage, you can get all the weapons from Anchorage, and that means you can have all the ammo from Anchorage too. This gives you weapons that are pretty much unbreakable, so they'll always be at 100% health, and you pretty much have infinite ammo for all of these weapons. So you could have infinite rounds for the assault rifle and have an assault rifle that's unbreakable. Even with that, I would still probably put the assault rifle in C tier. It's still pretty underwhelming. It's cool that you would have infinite bullets and that you never need to repair it, but you know, it's just good for killing small stuff. The sniper rifle, on the other hand, I'd probably put into S tier, because that does high enough damage, it has a good rate of fire, the scope on it's nice, and with infinite 308s and a rifle that you never have to worry about breaking, yeah, it's probably the best gun then. It still has the 5x crit chance too, so you can hit crits super often with it. And that would probably be the only S tier weapon that I'd put from the rifles. Most of the rifles in Fallout are decent. None of them really stand out as like top tier weapons that I use. You know, next time we're going to be looking at the shotguns, which there's only a couple of them, so we should be able to get through that pretty quick. And the shotguns have some really nice contenders in them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did and you'd like to see more, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post these videos. If you'd like to see my other Fallout 3 videos, be sure to click over here somewhere. There should be a playlist with a couple of them on there. Special thanks to the supporters of the channel. These are my members over here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. If you would like to be a part of that and get early access to videos like this, be sure that you check out the links in the description below. They really help out the channel a lot. And thanks everybody who does that. And I will see all of you guys next time. Till then, stay cool. Bye.